You don't lack intelligence. You don't lack motivation. You lack control over your attention. Your mind has been trained to react, not to focus, to consume, not to think, to chase noise instead of building clarity. This audiobook is a mental reset, not inspiration, not theory, a system to rebuild focus through silence, structure, and daily discipline. If you follow what you hear, your mind will slow down, sharpen, and obey again. If you don't, distraction will decide your life for you. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Accept this truth. Your focus is broken. Stop trying to change your life. That instruction matters more than it sounds. Because the instinct to change everything at once is the reason nothing changes at all. Your focus is broken. Not because you are weak. Not because you lack intelligence. Not because you are lazy. Your focus is broken because it has been trained to be broken. That is the truth. And until you accept it, you will keep blaming yourself for a problem that was engineered around you. You live in a system that profits from distraction. Every notification, every feed, every interruption, all of it competes for one thing: your attention. Attention is not infinite. It is not resilient by default. It is a skill. And like every skill, it either strengthens through training or decays through neglect. What you don't train, you lose. What you don't protect, you surrender. That's the key. Most people never train their attention. They let it be pulled. They let it be fragmented. They let it be rented out to whatever was loudest. Then they wake up confused, scattered, unable to think for more than a few minutes without reaching for something else. They assume something is wrong with them. There isn't. This is not about willpower. It's not about motivation. It's not about intelligence. It's about conditioning. Your brain adapted perfectly to the environment you put it in. Short bursts of stimulation train short bursts of attention. Constant novelty train constant seeking. Noise train reactivity. You don't change your life. You change what you repeat. Say it again. You don't change your life. You change what you repeat. Radical change fails because intensity fades. Repetition succeeds because it reshapes identity. You have a choice. You can keep trying to overhaul your life with dramatic plans and emotional promises. Or you can accept a simpler truth. Focus is rebuilt through structure, not effort. That's the key. The modern world sells you the idea that clarity is natural. That if you really wanted it, you would have it. That disciplined minds are born that way. That idea is false. Clarity is rare because it is not accidental. It is built, quietly, systematically. The world does not reward clarity. It rewards engagement. A fractured mind scrolls longer. A reactive mind clicks faster. A distracted mind consumes more. You don't need their permission to step out of that system. But you do need to stop pretending the problem is internal. This chapter is not about fixing anything yet. It's about removing the lie. The lie is that your inability to focus means something is wrong with you. The truth is simpler. Your attention has been trained poorly. What you don't train, you lose. What you don't protect, you surrender. That phrase matters because it removes blame and replaces it with responsibility. Responsibility is power. Blame is paralysis. Once you see focus as a trainable skill, the path forward becomes clear. Not easy, clear. Here is the first rule. Rule 1. Stop demanding focus from a system that destroys it. You cannot expect sustained attention while living inside constant interruption. That expectation is irrational. So stop demanding better results from a broken structure. This is where most people fail. They try to focus harder inside environments designed to fragment them. That's not discipline. That's denial. It's not about flaw. It's about discipline. Discipline does not mean forcing yourself to concentrate longer. It means removing the conditions that make concentration impossible. That's the key. Another rule. Rule 2. Stop measuring focus emotionally. Measure it structurally. People say, "I don't feel focused today." Feelings are irrelevant. Focus is not a mood. It's an output. You either created conditions that support attention or you didn't. Silence, boundaries, single task environments. These are not preferences. They are requirements. You have a choice. You can keep asking yourself why you can't focus. Or you can ask a better question. What am I repeatedly allowing that fractures my attention? That question leads to systems, not guilt. Most people want to change their lives. They want clarity, confidence, and control. So they make dramatic decisions. New schedules, new habits, new identities. Then they burn out because they try to change outcomes without changing inputs. You don't change your life. You change what you repeat. This audiobook is not about massive transformation. It's about precise correction, small adjustments, relentlessly applied. Focus does not return through inspiration. It returns through subtraction. Less noise, fewer inputs, reduced stimulation. That idea will be uncomfortable because distraction has become familiar. But familiarity is not health. Another rule, Rule 3, accept discomfort as evidence of retraining. When you remove stimulation, your mind will resist. It will feel restless, irritable, bored. That does not mean the practice is failing. It means it is working. You are witnessing withdrawal from constant novelty. What you don't train, you lose. What you don't protect, you surrender. Protection comes before performance. You do not earn focus by pushing harder. You earn it by defending your attention from unnecessary assault. That's the key. There is no heroism in tolerating constant interruption. There is no virtue in availability. You don't need their permission to step back. You don't need to explain why you want silence. You don't need to justify boundaries. This is training, not negotiation. By the end of this chapter, one thing should be clear. You're not broken. Your focus is untrained. And untrained things can be trained, but only if you stop trying to change everything at once. Change the structure. Change the repetitions. Change the environment. The next chapter will show you exactly where focus collapses first and how noise quietly destroys attention before you ever notice it. Listen carefully, because clarity begins with removal. Chapter 2. Stop consuming noise. Noise is not neutral. Noise is destructive. That is not a metaphor. It is a mechanical truth. Every input you allow competes for the same limited mental resource, attention. Not some attention. All of it comes from the same pool. You cannot divide attention without weakening it. You can only fragment it. Multitasking does not make you efficient. It makes you shallow. Constant updates do not keep you informed. They keep you reactive. Background noise does not relax the mind. It prevents it from settling. Noise is not neutral. It is destructive. Say it again. Noise is not neutral. It is destructive. Most people misunderstand noise. They think of it as sound, music, podcasts, conversations. That is a shallow definition. Noise is anything that occupies attention without serving a deliberate purpose. An open tab you are not using, a phone within arm's reach, a notification you didn't need to see, a video playing while you work just for background. Each one seems harmless. Together, they hollow out your ability to sustain thought. This is how cognitive endurance dies. Not suddenly, quietly. You don't notice the damage because it feels normal. That's the danger. You have been trained to live inside constant stimulation. So silence feels wrong. Stillness feels uncomfortable. Focus feels heavy. You interpret that discomfort as a personal flaw. It is not. It's not about weakness. It's about conditioning. Noise trains the mind to expect interruption. So when interruption is removed, the mind panics. That panic is not a signal to add stimulation. It is a signal that retraining has begun. That's the key. Here, is the first rule of this chapter. Rule 1. Treat attention as a finite asset, not an unlimited trait. You do not have attention. You allocate it. Every input is a withdrawal. Very few are deposits. If you spend attention all day reacting, you'll have none left for thinking. This is not philosophical. It is biological. Cognitive endurance depends on uninterrupted time. Time where the mind can hold a single object without being pulled away. Noise prevents that. And the worst noise is the noise you choose voluntarily. Background content is the most deceptive form of destruction because it feels productive. Music while working, videos while eating, podcasts while resting. There is no mental recovery when something is always playing. Rest requires absence. Focus requires absence. Absence of input. Absence of novelty. Absence of interruption. Noise is not neutral. It is destructive. You have a choice. You can continue to fill every empty moment with stimulation, or you can reclaim those moments as training ground. Silence is not wasted time. It is preparation. Another rule. Rule 2. Eliminate passive consumption during active tasks. If a task requires thinking, it requires exclusivity. One task, one input, no audio in the background, no notifications just in case, no split screens. This is not about productivity hacks. It is about respecting how the mind works. The brain cannot fully engage while scanning for something else. Partial attention produces partial results. It's not about flaw. It's about discipline. Discipline means deciding in advance what gets access to your mind. You don't need their permission to close the app. You don't need their permission to be unreachable. You don't need their permission to work in silence. Noise convinces you that availability is obligation. It is not. Availability is a choice. And choices have consequences. Most people complain that they can't focus for more than a few minutes. Then they keep their phone visible, their notifications on, their environment loud. That contradiction goes unnoticed because noise has been normalized. That's the key. Another rule. Rule 3. Remove noise before adding structure. Do not add new habits yet. Do not optimize schedules yet. First, subtract. Remove the unnecessary inputs that drain attention. Silence before structure. Reduction before replacement. This order matters. You cannot build clarity on top of constant interference. Think of attention like a muscle. Noise is not training. Noise is fatigue. Endless stimulation exhausts attention without strengthening it. So when you finally try to focus, the muscle is already depleted. You mistake exhaustion for inability. That mistake keeps people stuck. What you don't train, you lose. What you don't protect, you surrender. Protection starts with boundaries around input. Another rule. Rule 4. Design noise-free zones. Not goals. Zones. Physical spaces. Time blocks. Places where noise is not allowed. Not sometimes. Always. A desk with no phone. A room with no background audio. A morning with no consumption. These are not preferences. They are constraints. Constraints create freedom. When the mind knows there will be no interruption, it settles faster. It stops scanning. It commits. That's the key. People wait to feel focused before removing noise. That order is backwards. You remove noise first. Focus follows. You have a choice. You can continue to treat noise as harmless background, or you can recognize it as constant erosion. There is no neutral consumption. Every input shapes the mind that receives it. If you feed your attention fragments, you get fragmented thinking. If you feed it silence, you get depth. This chapter is not asking you to become extreme. It is asking you to become precise. Silence where silence is required. Input where input is deliberate. That balance is discipline. And discipline is trained, not wished for. In the next chapter, You will learn why silence is not empty, and how intentional quiet is the fastest way to reclaim authority over your thoughts. Listen carefully, because silence is not absence. It is the foundation. Chapter 3. Use silence to reclaim authority over thought. Silence is not empty. Silence is revealing. That is the first truth you must accept. Most people avoid silence not because it is useless, but because it is honest. When noise stops, the mind speaks, and what it says is often disordered. Racing thoughts, unfinished worries, compulsive urges. That chaos was always there. Noise simply covered it. Silence removes the cover. Silence is where control returns. Say it again. Silence is where control returns. This chapter is not about meditation as an identity. It is not about spirituality. It is not about relaxation. It is about authority. Right now, your thoughts lead you. They appear. They pull attention. They dictate behavior. That is not freedom. That is reaction. Authority means you decide which thoughts stay and which pass. Authority means the mind waits for instruction. Silence is the training ground for that authority. Here is the first rule. Rule 1. Silence exposes what needs training, not what needs fixing. When you first enter silence, the mind resists. It seeks stimulation. It manufactures urgency. This is not a problem. It is data. The discomfort tells you how dependent your mind has become on input. You don't escape that discomfort by adding noise. You escape it by staying. Staying teaches the brain that stillness is survivable, then tolerable, then familiar. That's the key. Most people think clarity comes from adding insights. It doesn't. Clarity comes from removing interference. Silence removes interference. But silence must be intentional. Accidental silence is rare and short. Intentional silence is scheduled and protected. You have a choice. You can wait for quiet moments to appear, or you can create them on command. Authority begins with command. Another rule. Rule 2. Start with short, repeatable silence, not long, dramatic sessions. Do not aim for intensity. Aim for consistency. 5 minutes of silence every day retrains the mind faster than one long session per week. Why? Because repetition rewires expectation. The brain learns what is normal through frequency, not effort. You don't change your life. You change what you repeat. Silence, repeated daily, becomes familiar. Familiarity reduces resistance. Reduced resistance allows order. That's the key. Here is what silence actually does. It removes external structure. Without external structure, the mind reveals its internal structure. Most minds are cluttered because they were never organized. They were distracted. Silence is the mirror, and mirrors are uncomfortable when you avoid looking. Noise is avoidance. Silence is confrontation. Not emotional confrontation, structural confrontation. You see what thoughts repeat. You notice which impulses dominate. You observe patterns instead of obeying them. Observation creates distance. Distance creates choice. You have a choice. That phrase matters. Without silence, there's no space to choose. There is only reaction. Another rule. Rule 3. Do not try to control thoughts. Train your tolerance for their presence. This is where people fail. They enter silence and try to clear the mind. That effort creates tension. Tension creates frustration. You're not here to suppress thoughts. You're here to stop obeying them. Thoughts can exist without action. Urges can arise without response. Silence teaches this distinction. When you sit in silence and do nothing, the mind learns a new rule. Not every thought requires movement. That rule is foundational. It transfers to focus. It transfers to impulse control. It transfers to emotional regulation. Silence is where control returns. Control does not mean domination. It means leadership. Another rule. Rule 4. Pair silence with stillness. No movement, no multitasking, no subtle stimulation. Stillness amplifies silence. If the body fidgets, the mind follows. If the eyes wander, attention scatters. Sit, stand, remain. This is not punishment. This is training. Stillness teaches the nervous system that calm does not require distraction. Most people have never experienced that. They associate calm with entertainment. Music, screens, background noise. That association is learned, and it can be unlearned. It's not about flaw. It's about discipline. Discipline is choosing the harder input now to gain easier control later. Another rule. Rule 5. End silence deliberately. Do not escape it. When the timer ends, stop. Stand up. Move on. Do not rush to stimulation as relief. That trains the wrong lesson. The lesson is not silence is something to survive. The lesson is silence is something I can enter and exit at will. Authority requires clean transitions. You don't need their permission to be silent. You don't need to justify why you are unreachable. You don't need to explain why you are not consuming. Silence is not withdrawal from life. It is preparation for it. What you don't train, you lose. What you don't protect, you surrender. Silence protects attention by strengthening its core. Think of silence as weight training for the mind. No movement, no distraction, just load. At first, it feels heavy, then manageable, then stabilizing. Most people never stay long enough to reach that stage. They quit when discomfort appears. They mislabel discomfort as failure. That mistake keeps them dependent on noise. Silence is not the absence of thought. It is the absence of obedience to thought. That distinction matters. Once you experience that, something shifts. You realize thoughts are events, not commands. You realize attention can remain steady even when the mind is active. That is authority, and authority compounds. The more often you return to silence, the faster control comes back. You don't need dramatic breakthroughs. You need daily exposure. You have a choice. You can continue filling every gap with stimulation, or you can claim silence as a non-negotiable practice. This chapter ends with a simple directive. Schedule silence. Protect it. Repeat it, not to feel better, to gain control. In the next chapter, you will learn why control collapses when choice is excessive, and how building systems removes the burden of constant decision-making. Listen carefully, because focus is not sustained by effort. It is sustained by structure. Chapter 4. Build systems that remove choice. Willpower is unreliable. Focus built on willpower collapses under pressure. That is not an opinion. It is an observed pattern. Every time you rely on motivation to focus, you gamble with your attention. Some days you win. Most days you don't. Focus does not come from willpower. It comes from structure. Systems remove choice. And removing choice is how clarity becomes stable. What is scheduled no longer requires motivation. Say it again. What is scheduled no longer requires motivation. Most people believe freedom comes from unlimited choice. In reality, unlimited choice produces fatigue. Every decision costs attention. Small decisions still cost something. And attention drains faster than people realize. Decision fatigue is not dramatic. It is subtle. By the time you sit down to think, your mind is already tired. Not from work, from deciding. What to check, what to answer, what to delay, what to ignore. That constant evaluation destroys focus before focus ever begins. That's the key. Here is the first rule of this chapter. Rule 1. Stop asking yourself what to do next. Decide once, then automate. Every time you ask, should I focus now? You weaken the habit of focus. Focus must not be optional. It must be procedural. A system answers the question before it arises. At this time, I work. In this place, I think. During this block, I do not consume. No debate. No negotiation. You don't need their permission to operate this way. You don't need to explain your structure. You need to obey it. Systems are promises you don't have to remember. That's the key. Most people fail at focus because they keep it conditional. I'll focus after I check this. I'll start once I feel ready. I'll concentrate if nothing interrupts me. Conditions invite interruption. Systems prevent it. Another rule. Rule 2. Build environments that make distraction inconvenient. Discipline is not resisting temptation. Discipline is designing environments where temptation has no access. If your phone is on your desk, distraction is present. If notifications are enabled, interruption is guaranteed. If multiple tabs are open, attention is split. This is not about self-control. It's about placement. Put distraction far enough away that it requires effort to reach. Effort creates pause. Pause creates choice. You have a choice. You can keep trying to be strong, or you could be strategic. Remove temptation from the environment instead of fighting it internally. That is systems thinking. It's not about flaw. It's about discipline. Discipline is built into the setup, not forced in the moment. Another rule. Rule 3. Separate focus time from everything else. Blended time destroys clarity. If focus shares space with communication, it loses. If thinking shares time with reacting, it fragments. Focus requires exclusivity. That means certain hours are unreachable hours. Certain spaces are consumption-free spaces. No checking, no responding, no updating. This does not make you irresponsible. It makes you effective. The world will wait. Your attention will not. That's the key. People say they can't find time to focus. Time is not found. It is allocated. If focus is not scheduled, it will be replaced by whatever is loudest. What is scheduled no longer requires motivation. Scheduling is a form of protection. Another rule. Rule 4. Use repetition, not intensity, to enforce systems. Do not aim for perfect days. Aim for consistent ones. A system does not need emotional commitment. It needs obedience. Same time, same place, same rules. The brain learns through repetition. When focus happens at the same time each day, resistance decreases. The mind stops arguing. It complies. This is how automatic behavior is built. You don't change your life. You change what you repeat. Say it again. You don't change your life. You change what you repeat. Systems work because they remove emotional fluctuation from the equation. You don't feel like focusing? Irrelevant. The system runs anyway. That's the key. Another rule. Rule 5. Reduce the number of systems you build. More systems do not mean more control. They mean more complexity. Start with one. One focus block. One silence ritual. One distraction-free zone. Stability comes before expansion. Most people overbuild. They create elaborate plans they can't maintain. Simplicity is discipline. A simple system repeated beats a complex system abandoned. What you don't train, you lose. What you don't protect, you surrender. Systems protect attention by limiting exposure. Another rule. Rule 6. End focus sessions decisively. Do not let focus bleed into consumption. Do not reward clarity with noise. When the session ends, end it cleanly. Stand up, move, reset. This trains the mind to trust the structure. Trust reduces resistance. If focus always ends in exhaustion or overload, the mind avoids it. Systems must feel contained, not endless. That's the key. People resist structure because they think it limits freedom. The opposite is true. Structure removes friction. Friction drains attention. When decisions are made in advance, the mind relaxes. Relaxation is not laziness. It is readiness. You have a choice. You can keep managing focus manually every day, or you can install systems that carry the load for you. Manual control fails under stress. Systems persist. That is why disciplined thinkers look calm. They are not exerting more effort. They are making fewer decisions. You don't need their permission to structure your life this way. You don't need approval to protect your attention. Clarity is not selfish. It is functional. This chapter has one central command. Remove choice where focus is required. Decide once. Schedule it. Protect it. What is scheduled no longer requires motivation. In the next chapter, you will learn how attention strengthens under constraint and why focus must be trained like a muscle, not demanded like a favor. Listen carefully, because discipline is not force. It is design. Chapter 5, Train Attention Like a Muscle. Attention is not a personality trait. It is not a talent. It is not a mood. Attention is a capacity, and every capacity follows the same rule. Used correctly, it strengthens. Used poorly, it degrades. Attention weakens when scattered. Attention strengthens when constrained. Focus grows under resistance. Say it again. Focus grows under resistance. Most people misunderstand focus because they treat it like a switch. On or off, present or absent. That model is wrong. Focus behaves like a muscle. If you never train it, it fatigues quickly. If you overload it suddenly, it fails. If you train it progressively, it adapts. This chapter is about training, not forcing, not demanding. Training is deliberate stress applied in controlled amounts. Here is the first rule. Rule 1. Stop asking for long focus before earning short focus. Most people say, I can't focus for an hour. That is expected. If you cannot focus for 10 minutes, an hour is fantasy. Strength comes before endurance. You would not load maximum weight on an untrained muscle. Do not do it with attention. Short daily periods of single task focus outperform long, inconsistent efforts. That's the key. 5 minutes of true focus beats 30 minutes of distracted effort. Why? Because the muscle only responds to clean reps. Partial focus is not training. It is noise disguised as work. Another rule. Rule 2. Train attention with single task constraints. One task, one object, one direction. No switching, no checking, no overlap. The moment you switch tasks, the set ends. This matters. Task switching is not rest. It is interruption. Each switch forces the brain to reorient. Reorientation costs energy. Enough switches destroy endurance. Constraint is the resistance. When attention is forced to stay with one object, discomfort appears. That discomfort is the signal. Not stop. Train. Focus grows under resistance. Another rule. Rule 3. End the session before attention collapses. Do not train to failure. Failure teaches avoidance. End focus sessions while control is still present. This trains confidence. The mind learns, I can do this. Not, this exhausts me. 5 minutes today, 7 tomorrow, 10 next week. Progression matters. You have a choice. You can chase heroic sessions that leave you drained, or you can build capacity gradually. Gradual progress compounds. Heroic effort burns out. That's the key. Most people fail because they confuse intensity with effectiveness. Intensity feels productive. Effectiveness is quiet. It's not about flaw. It's about discipline. Discipline applies the correct dose. Another rule. Rule 4. Train attention at the same time each day. Muscles adapt faster with consistent timing. So does attention. Same hour, same environment, same rules. Consistency reduces resistance. When the brain expects focus at a certain time, it prepares. Preparation reduces friction. This is why systems matter. What is scheduled no longer requires motivation. Training sessions are not optional events. They are appointments. You don't negotiate with the schedule. You follow it. Another rule. Rule 5. Remove all escape routes before you begin. Attention collapses fastest when escape is visible. A phone nearby, an open browser, background audio. Even in used, these create cognitive tension. The brain allocates resources to restraint. Restraint drains energy. Remove escape before starting. Put the phone away. Close everything not required. Silence the environment. This is not extreme. It is precise. Precision preserves energy. Focus grows under resistance, but only when resistance is clean. Another rule. Rule 6. Measure training by quality, not duration. Do not count minutes. Count interruptions. One uninterrupted 5-minute block is a success. 10 minutes with checking is not. Attention adapts to what you reward. Reward clean focus, not long sessions. End the session. Mark it complete. Move on. This trains respect for the process. Another rule. Rule 7. Separate focused training from performance. Training is not output. Do not judge the work produced. Judge the attention applied. If you evaluate results during training, you introduce pressure. Pressure creates distraction. Training is about form. Hold attention. Notice drift. Return without frustration. Return is the rep. Each return strengthens control. That's the key. Most people think losing focus is failure. It is not. Not returning is failure. Attention training is not about never drifting. It is about reducing the time between drift and return. Silence helps. Structure helps. Constraint helps. But repetition does the work. You don't change your life. You change what you repeat. Attention is no exception. Another rule. Rule 8. Expect resistance and ignore it. The mind will protest. Boredom, restlessness, urgency. These are not signals. They are habits dissolving. Do not negotiate with them. Observe. Return. You have a choice. You can obey discomfort, or you can train through it. Training through does not mean force. It means calm persistence. Authority without aggression. That tone matters. Anger tightens attention. Calm steadies it. Focus grows under resistance, but only controlled resistance. Another rule. Rule 9. Do not multitask outside training if you want training to work. Training cannot outpace sabotage. If the rest of your day is fragmented, training will be slower. Reduce multitasking everywhere. Eat without screens. Walk without audio. Wait without checking. These moments extend training into daily life. They increase baseline control. What you don't train, you lose. What you don't protect, you surrender. Protection happens all day, not just in sessions. Another rule. Rule 10. Stop chasing deep work. Build basic control first. Depth comes later. Control comes first. If you cannot hold attention lightly, you cannot hold it deeply. Build the base. Short sessions. Clean focus. Daily repetition. That is how muscles grow. That is how attention grows. You don't need their permission to train this way. You don't need validation. You need compliance with the process. This chapter ends with a clear directive. Train attention daily. Short, clean, consistent. Let resistance appear. Stay calm. Return. Focus grows under resistance. In the next chapter, you will learn why attention collapses fastest under reactivity, and how eliminating impulsive response restores control over thought and action. Listen carefully, because reaction is not weakness. It is a habit. Chapter 6. Eliminate the habit of mental reactivity. Most thoughts are not decisions. They are reactions. This distinction matters. A reaction appears automatically. A decision is chosen deliberately. If you do not pause, you do not decide. You react. And reaction is the fastest way to lose control of attention. Pause creates power. Say it again. Pause creates power. Mental reactivity is not a character flaw. It is a trained habit. Notifications appear. You respond. Emotions rise. You act. Thoughts intrude. You follow. None of this is intentional. It is conditioned. The modern environment rewards speed, not restraint. Immediate response is praised. Delayed response is treated as neglect. That environment trains reactivity. Then people wonder why they feel scattered. Why focus collapses? Why clarity never stabilizes? Reactivity fragments attention at the source. Before focus can deepen, reaction must slow. That's the key. Here is the first rule of this chapter. Rule 1. Insert a pause before every response. Not a long pause. A brief one. One breath. One count. One moment of stillness. That pause is enough to change the outcome. Without a pause, behavior is automatic. With a pause, choice appears. You have a choice. The pause is not hesitation. It is control. Pause creates power. Most people believe power comes from speed. It doesn't. Speed without control is instability. Control comes from timing. Another rule. Rule 2. Do not respond to stimuli immediately, even when you can. This is training. You do not need to answer the message as soon as it arrives. You do not need to check the update as soon as it appears. You do not need to act on every thought the moment it enters awareness. Immediate response trains dependency. Delayed response trains authority. Authority over your attention. You don't need their permission to wait. You don't need to justify delayed response. Waiting is not avoidance. It is discipline. That's the key. Reactivity feels efficient because it is fast, but it is expensive. Each reaction costs attention. Each interruption forces reorientation. Enough reactions destroy endurance. Mental clarity requires uninterrupted spans of non-reactivity. Another rule. Rule 3. Treat emotions as signals, not commands. Emotions arise automatically. They are reactions to interpretation. They are information, not instructions. If you act immediately on emotion, you surrender control. If you pause, observe, and then choose, you retain authority. This applies to frustration, anxiety, urgency, excitement, all of them. You're not here to suppress emotion. You are here to delay obedience. Pause creates power. When you pause, emotion peaks and passes. When you react, emotion reinforces itself. This is how habits form. Another rule. Rule 4. Reduce the number of triggers you are exposed to. You cannot pause endlessly if you're constantly triggered. Training requires reduction. Fewer notifications. Fewer inputs. Fewer interruptions. If everything demands response, nothing gets attention. This is not about self-control. It is about exposure. Remove what you do not need to respond to. Silence notifications by default. Check messages on schedule. Batch communication. This removes constant stimulus. Less stimulus means fewer reactions. Fewer reactions mean more clarity. That's the key. Most people try to manage reactivity internally. That fails. External reduction comes first. Internal control follows. It's not about flaw. It's about discipline. Discipline designs conditions where restraint is possible. Another rule. Rule 5. Practice non-response deliberately. This is a skill. Choose moments to not respond. Let message sit. Let urge pass. Let thought fade. Nothing breaks. The world continues. This teaches the nervous system a new rule. Urgency does not equal danger. Once that rule is learned, clarity increases. Because the mind stops scanning for threats. Scanning consumes attention. Stillness preserves it. Pause creates power. Another rule. Rule 6. Slow down physical reactions to slow mental ones. The body leads the mind. Fast movements reinforce fast thinking. Rush behavior sustains urgency. Slow movements signal safety. Stand slowly. Sit deliberately. Type calmly. This is not performance. It is regulation. When the body slows, the mind follows. Most people try to think calmly while behaving urgently. That contradiction keeps them reactive. Align the body with the outcome. Another rule. Rule 7. Separate stimulus from response during focus sessions. When training attention, reactivity must be minimized. No responding during focus blocks. No checking. No exceptions. If something appears, ignore it. This is not avoidance. It is containment. You decide when responses happen, not the stimulus. What is scheduled no longer requires motivation. Response windows are scheduled. Focus windows are protected. Mixing them destroys both. That's the key. Another rule. Rule 8. Expect discomfort when reactivity is reduced. The urge to respond will intensify at first. That is withdrawal. The brain expects stimulation. When it does not arrive, tension rises. This tension is temporary. Do not resolve it with reaction. Resolve it with pause. Each resisted reaction weakens the habit. Each pause strengthens control. You don't change your life. You change what you repeat. Repetition of pause builds authority. Another rule. Rule 9. Do not analyze thoughts during the pause. Analysis invites engagement. Engagement invites reaction. The pause is not for thinking. It is for waiting. Notice the impulse. Do nothing. Let it pass. This is enough. Control does not require explanation. Another rule. Rule 10. Practice pause outside of focus sessions. Training cannot be isolated. Pause before speaking. Pause before switching tasks. Pause before consuming. These small pauses accumulate. They raise baseline clarity. Mental reactivity decreases across the day. What you don't train, you lose. What you don't protect, you surrender. Protection begins with the pause. Most people believe they are choosing their actions. They are not. They are responding to triggers. Remove reactivity and something changes. Time slows. Attention stabilizes. Thought becomes deliberate. That is clarity. Pause creates power. This chapter ends with a simple command. Slow down responses. Insert pauses. Reduce triggers. Do not react immediately by default. Decide when response is appropriate. In the next chapter, you will learn why complexity sustains reactivity and how simplifying your commitments and inputs restores clear thinking. Listen carefully, because clarity is not acceleration. It is restraint. Chapter 7. Simplify to think clearly. Complexity is the silent enemy of focus. It is subtle, pervasive, and relentless. Every additional priority divides attention. Every unnecessary input fragments thought. Every extra commitment steals time from clarity. Clarity is subtraction. Say it again. Clarity is subtraction. Most people believe more is better. More tasks, more tools, more options. They mistake busyness for progress. It is not progress. It is dilution. Complexity drains clarity. Simplicity restores it. Here is the first rule. Rule 1. Reduce the number of priorities to the absolute minimum. A long to-do list is not ambition. It is distraction. Ask yourself, which tasks actually advance what matters? Everything else is noise. Eliminate it. Fewer priorities mean attention is focused. Focused attention means deeper thought. Deeper thought produces better outcomes. That's the key. Another rule. Rule 2. Limit inputs to what is necessary for decision-making. Information is fuel. Too much fuel floods the engine. Emails, news, updates, social feeds. Most of it is irrelevant. It consumes attention and generates reactivity. Filter ruthlessly. Consume only what is required. Nothing else deserves access to your mind. Clarity is subtraction. Another rule. Rule 3. Reduce commitments to protect attention. Most people agree to everything. Meetings, favors, events, obligations. Each commitment is a claim on your attention. Too many claims destroy control. Say no. Say it clearly. Say it repeatedly. You don't need their permission. You don't need approval. You need boundaries. Boundaries protect focus. Another rule. Rule 4. Combine similar tasks to reduce mental load. Grouping reduces switching. Switching divides attention and weakens clarity. Batch emails. Batch decisions. Batch thinking that requires similar context. This is not efficiency hacks. It is structural protection of attention. Focus grows under constraint. Simplification is a constraint. Another rule. Rule 5. Remove unnecessary options from every environment. Clutter is visual noise. Overchoice is cognitive noise. Fewer apps. Fewer tabs. Fewer physical objects on your desk. Fewer decisions to make about what to do next. Simplicity is subtraction. Subtraction creates space. Space allows thought to stabilize. Another rule. Rule 6. Set hard limits on consumption. Do not allow unlimited input. Set schedules for reading, news, or updates. Outside those times, consume nothing. This is not deprivation. It is discipline. Without limits, attention fragments. With limits, clarity begins. Another rule. Rule 7. Reduce the number of simultaneous goals. Multi-goal thinking divides the mind. One clear objective receives focus. Secondary objectives wait their turn. Focus is a muscle. Training it requires concentration. You cannot train multiple muscles simultaneously without reducing strength. That's the key. Rule 8. Automate decisions wherever possible. Reduce complexity by removing repeated choices. Morning routine, meal plan, clothing selection, email response schedule. Automation frees mental bandwidth. Bandwidth fuels clarity. Another rule. Rule 9. Audit every commitment monthly. Ask, does this task, input, or obligation serve clarity? If not, remove it. Clarity is not accumulation. It is subtraction. Subtraction is discipline. Another rule. Rule 10. Protect your simplified system daily. Simplification is useless without enforcement. Noise and complexity creep back if boundaries are not maintained. Check your inputs. Check your commitments. Check your environment. Clarity is subtraction. Subtraction must be defended. You have a choice. You can continue adding layers to an already fragmented mind, or you can remove everything unnecessary and reclaim space for thought. This chapter ends with a clear directive. Audit, subtract, protect. Simplicity is not a feeling. It is a structure. It is a rule. In the next chapter, you will learn how to install daily rituals that embed this simplification into repeatable habits so that clarity is maintained automatically without constant negotiation or effort. Listen carefully, because depth of thought is never achieved through accumulation. It is achieved through subtraction. Chapter 8. Install daily focus rituals. Discipline is not constant. Willpower fluctuates. Motivation fades. That is reality. Rituals protect focus when discipline is low. Say it again. Rituals protect focus when discipline is low. Most people think focus comes from effort. It does not. Focus comes from structure. Structure begins with ritual. Morning and evening routines anchor attention. They stabilize mental energy. They prevent drift before the day begins and before it ends. Here is the first rule. Rule 1. Establish a non-negotiable morning ritual. The first hour of the day is the most powerful. It determines attention, mood, and energy for the entire day. Do not scroll. Do not check messages. Do not react to external input. Choose actions that prepare the mind. Meditation, journaling, single task work, reading a pre-selected source. The sequence matters. Repetition matters. Consistency matters. Rituals protect focus when discipline is low. Another rule. Rule 2. Establish a non-negotiable evening ritual. The last hour of the day sets the stage for recovery. It prevents fatigue from spilling into tomorrow. Do not consume chaotic input. Do not allow noise to linger. Do not react. Reflect. Plan. Close the day deliberately. Rituals enforce boundaries. They protect mental energy. They preserve clarity. Another rule. Rule 3. Anchor rituals in physical spaces. Morning ritual in one place. Evening ritual in another. Separate environments reinforce mental cues. The mind responds to context. Same actions, same space, same time. Automatic focus emerges. This is not optional. It is structural. Another rule. Rule 4. Limit the number of steps per ritual. Simplicity is key. Rituals should be repeatable without resistance. Too many steps create friction. Choose 3 to 5 consistent actions per ritual. No more, no less. Small sequences repeated daily produce compounding results. Rituals protect focus when discipline is low. Another rule. Rule 5. Pair rituals with triggers. Triggers anchor habit. The alarm clock, a cup of water, a closed door. Each trigger signals the mind. Focus begins. This reduces reliance on willpower. The brain follows the cue automatically. Attention does not need persuasion. Another rule. Rule 6. Track adherence, not intensity. Do not evaluate how effective the ritual feels. Evaluate whether it was completed. Consistency is training. Intensity is irrelevant. The repetition teaches the brain that focus is routine, not conditional. Another rule. Rule 7. Protect rituals from interruptions. No exceptions. No negotiation. No justification. Interruptions train the mind to expect chaos. Rituals must be defended. They are boundaries made actionable. Rituals protect focus when discipline is low. Another rule. Rule 8. Adjust rituals slowly, deliberately. Do not overhaul routines frequently. Changes must be gradual. Preserve stability first, then evolve. The mind thrives on predictability. Rituals are predictable anchors. They resist fragmentation. Another rule. Rule 9. Include at least one cognitive prime. Cognitive primes prepare the mind for single-task focus. A short meditation, a reading passage, a journal prompt. These establish tone. They reinforce clarity. They train attention to expect focus. Another rule. Rule 10. End rituals with a transition action. Morning ritual. Stand, stretch, move to work. Evening ritual. Close notebook, dim lights, step away. Transitions prevent overlap. They signal the brain that focus or rest is complete. Without them, chaos slips in. Without them, clarity erodes. Rituals are not decoration. They are infrastructure. They automate protection. They remove reliance on fragile willpower. Rituals protect focus when discipline is low. You have a choice. You can allow the day to begin and end with distraction, or you can structure it with deliberate rituals that anchor attention. This chapter ends with a directive. Schedule your rituals. Anchor them in place. Repeat daily without exception. In the next chapter, you will learn why mental energy collapses without respect and how sustaining focus depends on protecting both mind and body. Listen carefully, because attention cannot be trained if energy is ignored. Chapter 9. Sustain focus by respecting mental energy. Focus is not purely a mental skill. It is a biological function. The mind requires energy to sustain attention. Without it, control collapses. Without it, clarity is impossible. A depleted mind cannot stay clear. Say it again. A depleted mind cannot stay clear. Most people treat attention as a limitless resource. It is not. It is finite, fragile, and easily exhausted. Every thought consumes energy. Every decision draws power. Every moment of reactivity drains reserves. When energy is low, attention fragments. Noise becomes irresistible. Distractions win automatically. That is not weakness. It is biology. Here is the first rule. Rule 1. Protect sleep as non-negotiable. Sleep is not optional. It is restoration. Neural networks consolidate. Decision-making resets. Attention recovers. Shortchanging sleep is a structural problem. It is not failure. It is negligence. You have a choice. Prioritize rest over convenience. Energy fuels focus. Another rule. Rule 2. Fuel the brain deliberately. Nutrition is not aesthetic. It is functional. Stable glucose, hydration, and balanced micronutrients maintain neural efficiency. Skip meals or eat chaotic foods and attention falters. Do not wait to feel hungry or grab what's easy. Plan input. Feed the mind like you train a muscle. A depleted mind cannot stay clear. Another rule. Rule 3. Schedule recovery periods. Focus is cyclical. Mental endurance requires downtime. Short breaks between work blocks prevent collapse. Longer breaks after intense sessions restore capacity. Without recovery, the mind fatigues faster than you realize. Without recovery, decision-making decays. Without recovery, clarity erodes. That's the key. Rule 4. Monitor energy, not effort. Do not measure discipline by hours worked or output produced. Measure it by how alert and present attention remains. Energy is the limiter. Focus is the output. Fatigue is feedback, not failure. Respond to it structurally. Rest. Refuel. Resume. Another rule. Rule 5. Align cognitive demand with biological capacity. Heavy mental work during low energy periods fails by default. Light tasks during peak energy are efficient. Schedule your most demanding thinking when your brain is primed. Structure, not willpower, determines endurance. You have a choice. Respect biological timing. Another rule. Rule 6. Remove energy drains that are avoidable. Stress, chaos, multitasking, and constant noise consume energy unnecessarily. Even subtle distractions require effort to suppress. Simplify inputs. Protect energy reserves. Clarity is subtraction. Energy is the substrate. Neglect either, and focus collapses. Another rule. Rule 7. Track recovery metrics. Sleep hours, mood, cognitive sharpness, physical fatigue. Observe patterns. Adjust routines. Without feedback, energy management remains guesswork. A depleted mind cannot stay clear. Another rule. Rule 8. Incorporate micro-rests throughout the day. 2 minutes of stillness. Deep breathing. Closed eyes. Short periods restore regulation and prevent cumulative fatigue. Small, repeatable interventions compound. Attention remains resilient. Distractions lose potency. Another rule. Rule 9. Respect the mind-body connection. Physical health sustains mental clarity. Exercise, posture, and movement influence neural function. Neglect the body, and the brain follows. Energy is holistic. Clarity is emergent. Another rule. Rule 10. Enforce boundaries to protect energy proactively. Do not allow noise, reactivity, or unnecessary obligations to drain attention. Guard work blocks, rest periods, and focus sessions. Energy cannot be recovered after complete depletion. It must be protected in advance. A depleted mind cannot stay clear. You have a choice. You can continue to push through fatigue, sacrificing attention, or you can manage energy systematically, respecting rest, nutrition, and recovery. Discipline is not relentless effort. Discipline is preservation. This chapter ends with a simple directive. Protect your energy. Respect biological limits. Schedule recovery. Guard clarity. In the next chapter, you will learn how to integrate all these systems: silence, rituals, simplification, and energy management into the daily practice that transforms scattered attention into sustained authority over thought. Listen carefully, because focus without energy is temporary. Focus with energy is unstoppable. Chapter 10. Become a disciplined thinker for life. Clarity is not temporary. It is not a habit you start and stop. It is an identity. You do not wake up one day with perfect focus. You build it daily, deliberately, relentlessly. You become what you repeatedly protect. Say it again. You become what you repeatedly protect. Every principle in this book is a tool. Silence, systems, simplified inputs, energy management, rituals, all of them are components of attention infrastructure. Without consistent application, they are theoretical. Applied daily, they define who you are. Here is the first rule. Rule 1. Protect attention as if it were your most valuable asset. Because it is. Every distraction you allow, every moment of reactive thought, chips away at control. The disciplined thinker defends these moments. Boundaries are non-negotiable. Noise is minimized. Rituals are respected. You don't need their permission to do this. Authority over your mind is earned through practice, not debate. Another rule. Rule 2. Make repetition your strategy. Consistency beats intensity every time. Small, repeated actions compound into unshakable habits. Meditate daily. Train attention daily. Pause before reacting daily. Simplify inputs daily. Maintain energy daily. You don't change your life. You change what you repeat. Another rule. Rule 3. Accept that focus is lifelong work. There are no shortcuts. Clarity cannot be outsourced or automated completely. Even mastery requires maintenance. Long-term focus belongs to those who defend their attention daily. Not occasionally. Not when convenient. Daily. This is the final distinction between reactive minds and disciplined thinkers. Another rule. Rule 4. Integrate all principles into a coherent daily structure. Silence, systems, rituals, simplification, energy management, they are not separate tools. They are interconnected mechanisms. One missing element weakens the rest. One compromised system invites chaos. The disciplined thinker maintains the full network day after day. Another rule. Rule 5. Review, refine, and recommit continuously. Reflection is part of maintenance. Weekly audits, monthly adjustments. Never assume perfection. Attention is fragile. Clarity is earned, and it must be defended. You become what you repeatedly protect. Say it again. You become what you repeatedly protect. This identity, disciplined, deliberate, resistant to distraction, is available to anyone willing to structure their life around focus. Not motivation, not inspiration, not external validation. Structure and repetition. You have a choice. You can remain reactive, fragmented, and at the mercy of noise. Or you can become disciplined. You can reclaim your attention. You can define your mental life. Start now. Build your systems. Protect your energy. Create your rituals. Simplify relentlessly. Train attention every day. Clarity is not a reward. It is a consequence of consistent, repeated action. You become what you repeatedly protect. Now, take the next step. Apply these principles today. Do not negotiate. Do not delay. And if you found this audiobook valuable, subscribe to the channel for more in-depth, step-by-step guidance on reclaiming your focus and building a disciplined mind. Because your attention is the only asset you truly own, and you must defend it daily.